Hello, everybody. This is Soumya once again from PetFed India, your host for today. And as promised, today we have Dr. Champak Naik, a renowned veterinarian from Precise Pet Clinic and Diagnostics. Hi, Dr. Champak.
Hello, hi guys. Hello everyone.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much, Soumya, and thank you, PetFet, for making this happen. Please.
Thank you so much for coming, and we really appreciate you giving us the time. So, people who are joining us now, we are going to discuss a lot about a topic which is quite relevant for these days, considering that it's the onset of summers. We are going to talk about all the common problems that our pets face during summers. People who are watching us now, who are joining us now, please comment your queries. You can comment below with your queries, and we'll be answering them for you. Dr. Champak Naik did his bachelor's in veterinary sciences from Veterinary College, Bangalore. Referred to as Dr. Magic Hands by some, he believes in a comprehensive consultation, which is an amalgamation of diet, behavior, and lifestyle as a crucial component of our pet's health, and not just the symptoms that the pet shows. So, Dr. Champak, can you tell us what this approach is like? uh, these three things that you think of as very important for a consultation of a pet and for actually knowing what is really wrong with our pet, if there is.
Thank you. This is something that I really, really believe in because when I say diet, nutrition, and lifestyle, and and just general care of the pet. So basically, what happens is when you go to a doctor, it's mostly for a problem. Very rarely do people take healthy animals for a general checkup. Most of the time, the dog's vomiting or cat's vomiting, or they're having some issues or limping in pain or some kind of it. So we don't, and a lot of our, sometimes the dog might be absolutely fine. It could be a tiny gastric upset, and then within a day, the dog will be fine. But a lot of times people, sir, doctor, एक injection दे दो ना इसको, एक medicine दे दो ना. That sort of
Right,
mentality is what we've grown up with doctors, human doctors as well.
right,
So it's like doctors means medicines. And unfortunately, medicine isn't the only way of treating animals. A lot of times, educating the pet owners on making small changes to the diet and the general upkeep of their dog, and just being a little more responsible, little more attentive to their dog's routine, goes a long
right.
way in preventing such problems. So I educate the owner to let them know that, hey, we're not just here to give you medicines and give your dog shots and injections. Just a little bit of tweaking in your behavior and your lifestyle and advice and care of the dog can go a long way, and you don't have to come to me so often.
Right, right. Okay. So, what moment was that in your life that now that you look back where you knew that this is what you were born to do? Like, you want to be in veterinary sciences, and, you want to treat dogs and help pet parents along the way for the rest of your life. What was that moment?
So I'm a second generation vet. My father used to be one as well. And unfortunately, he passed away a couple of years ago because of health issues. But irrespective, when I was younger, I would accompany him to all the house calls he used to make, the dog shows and things like that. I used to be this kid that would be fascinated by seeing different kinds of dogs and cats all over. And at the end of the day, it just kind of grew into me. And I was going to do. He wanted me to become a medical doctor. I did apply for it, but uh, through a and I got into, but just before I could finalize my seat, I said, no, this is not what I feel like doing. And I just backed out. And a couple of weeks later, I got selected into veterinary science. And I haven't been more happier than changing my decision in my life before. So just, I've never looked back, and it's been the happiest. I think I wouldn't have been half as happy as I am being a medical doctor.
Nice. That's nice. Okay, so moving on, let's get straight to the topic that we are here for. And, we have a few questions from the audiences coming in, which we will address in a while. Before that, so the people who are joining us now, this is a discussion on the common summer problems that our pets face. And, Dr. Champak is here and he can answer all the queries that you may have regarding the summer problems and in your pets. So, hands down, the most common question and a real mystery to pet parents is during summers that how should I cool down my pet during summers, especially like how there's a lot of rising body temperature or a lot of panting that we as pet parents observe in our pets. So, what is the way to cool them down when we see that happening?
So yes. So first of all, people who have dogs and cats, they need to realize that the pets don't have sweat glands like we do. It's not easy for them to get rid of body heat. So they really go through a lot of stress during summer. So especially changing your dog or cat's uh, outdoor time in case you have an indoor outdoor schedule. So it would be better to take them out really early in the mornings and really late at night. Avoid taking them out during the hotter parts of the day, especially concrete and roads, the tar. They get really really hot. Yes,
Right,
their paws are a lot more durable and sturdy than ours, but they also go through a lot of damage and they absorb a lot of heat very quickly. And what you can do is, give some ice cubes for your dogs to play with every now
right,
and then. There are some companies that make doggy ice creams and cool treats as well. And try to make sure you fill up your dog's water bowl. Uh, Rather than keeping one bowl throughout the day, just keep frequently changing the water so that he consumes or she consumes more water, because they don't usually consume a lot of water when it becomes hot. The water is kept out
okay,
for too long. So you
right,
can keep
right,
some ice cubes there, or you can just fill some cool water. That should be fine. Not completely frozen ice, or like just cool water, a
yeah,
little less than
yeah,
a room temperature, and that goes a long way. And
okay.
especially if you have a retriever, cocker spaniel, or Maltese, Shih Tzu dogs with a lot of fur, try to get them a summer cut done. And one thing a lot of people mistake is getting a zero cut. Please do not completely shave off your pets. Okay,
Right.
especially these hairy breeds, long coated breeds, they have something called an undercoat, which is really important in regulating their body temperature. So don't ever go for a complete zero cut unless absolutely advised for medical reasons.
Okay. Okay, that was quite informative. So, people who are joining us now, please drop in your queries in the comments below and we'll be answering them shortly. Tell us something about heat stroke. So, this is again one of the constant worries amongst us pet parents that pets are really prone to heat strokes during peak summers. So, what are the symptoms that we can observe and we know for a fact that okay, this is if this is happening to my pet, this is a heat stroke, and what are the precautions that we can take to avoid heat strokes in our pets completely?
So one thing is, heat stroke is a very common thing. A lot of times it happens, and people don't really realize it. Yes, a good amount of times it is fatal. Yes, please be aware that heat stroke is fatal to your animals. But more often than not, if people don't lock out your pet in the balcony, especially one that is facing direct sun. If you are taking your dog out to do grocery shopping, or taking your dog out to the vets, or anywhere, please don't leave them in a locked car while you're waiting, or you're going to do some groceries, or you've registered and you're waiting for your turn at the vet, because this happens quite a bit. It in fact happened a couple of times at the clinic during the course of this lockdown, where people came into the clinic. They would come in and they would see, okay, there's about a 30-minute wait time or 20-minute wait time. They would leave their names and leave the dog in the car. And by the time they even got on the table, the dogs were barely able to, breathe. And it was critical. The dog had come in for a vaccination, and we were there trying to save its life. So it can
Right.
get critical within a matter of 15, 20 minutes, half an hour. So some of the signs that you need to watch out for is your pet becomes lethargic, a little bit unresponsive. The reflexes are not as fast. So let's say you call his name, hey Scooby or Rocky, or you call his name, and he just barely nudges, and you'll see eyes getting redder. And a lot of drooling, sticky mucus, and they wouldn't be very active. So bright purple, pale gums, purple tongue, darkish purple tongue. So the panting and struggling to breathe. These are certain signs that you need to watch out for, and this is a emergency condition. So please, if you notice these symptoms, immediately rush to your vet. And if you can't, if you're at home and you've locked your dog out on the balcony for some reason, or he's escaped, and or there's just he's got no access to water and he's been struggling throughout the day under the heat, first thing you need to do is take a wet towel, a thick turkey towel or something like that, completely wet it, and wrap him around, if or her around. If it's a small dog, completely wrap. Otherwise, big dog, just put it on the whole of the body, wet the paws, and splash some cold water around the head, and try to bring the temperature down, and then immediately rush over to your vets.
Okay, all right. So, how you mentioned that people should not, definitely not be leaving their pets in the car, in a parked car, and not even think about running a quick errand while the pet is in the car. So, I'm sure there are some other things that also we need to take care of as pet parents during summers, right? So can you list down a few do's and don'ts for us that we need to take care of, or certain common mistakes like this one that pet parents might make during summers regarding their pets?
Okay. A lot of times, dogs chronic dehydration or less water intake, and they lead to kidney stones and bladder stones in general. So we need to always encourage, especially male cats. I'm assuming the information we're discussing is going to be for dogs and cats, right, Soumya?
Yes, yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, so especially male cats tend to have something called FLUT, feline lower urinary tract infections. So they're very, very prone to having UTIs. So it's very important for us to encourage our pets to drink more water, irrespective dog or cat, more so in cats. But we, so if you have cats at home, I would suggest switching over to a predominantly wet food diet for the summer months, and make sure that about two-thirds of their diet is more wet food rather than dry food, as opposed to other times of the year. Um, and with dogs, I would say play some games and try to encourage to drink some water, because chronic dehydration is also a problem. So you can take them for walks during cooler times of the day, and keep them off hot surfaces, and make sure the windows, if you don't have an AC, make sure the windows are open throughout the house so there's plenty of cross ventilation. And
Okay.
one thing people need to realize is dogs do not cool down, or pets do not cool down in general as you do. So
Right.
you might notice them being on the floor as opposed to being on the bed. They'll go and
Yes.
hide in the cooler parts of the house. And but please make sure the water is cool. You encourage them to drink some more water, and or if you can't, at least if you can't encourage them to, or they don't want to drink water, so what you can do is you can water down their food, like especially if you're giving home food or pedigree or Royal Canin or whatever else you're feeding. You can use some bone broth, chicken broth, and just mix it up a little bit. So there's a lot of fluid intake that goes into their body. And ticks and fleas are one of the main causes during summer
Right.
season. So that
Right.
is something that we need to watch out for as well.
Right. Okay. Dr. Champak, we'll take, before I move on with other questions that I have for you, we'll take a couple of questions from the audience. We have a lot of people asking questions here. Uh, Before that, can I just request you to speak without your headphones once? There's a bit of a buzzing when you're speaking. So is it
Okay.
okay if you can remove your headphones?
Yes, let's try that.
You'll have to
Is it?
plug out.
Yeah, cut it out.
I can hear you now.
Yeah, you can. Perfect. Is
Yes.
it better?
Yes, it is. I will let you know in case we need to try something else. So let's take a couple of questions. Um, Mrugnyani asks, hello, I have a litter of 3 weeks and I'm facing so much issue of dehydration because of hot weather here. We are taking all precautions, but then also they become restless sometimes. What should be done in this case? And dehydration in general is a very huge problem for pets. The pets refuse to drink water, but at the same time, they seem to be really dehydrated. So can you tell us, how Mrignani and other pet parents who are facing similar issue can tackle this?
Okay. So, Ragnani, one thing is, since you said you have a litter of 3 weeks, it would be better to make sure that you provide a very, very cool area for them to stay in. There is a secluded area where the mother and the litter can find some safe space. Okay, because puppies at this young age, if they get exposed to heat or hot weather on a chronic basis, it will stunt the development, and it could cause diarrhea. Diarrhea is very common during summers because of chronic water dehydration. So I would recommend, please provide a shaded area. And plus another thing is, encourage them, encourage them to stay indoors or provide a cooler. You have these standalone coolers that are available, so maybe you can keep them in a well ventilated area and provide a cooler so that they're more comfortable. And I don't think a 3 week old litter would need a lot of space, at least the puppies. You can give mother time to go out, in and out, and give her some exercise otherwise. But otherwise, for the puppies, you can create like a small puppy crash and limit their movement. So hence you can cool them down better. And maybe after a few weeks, you can let them explore the rest of the house or other parts of the house. So that's what I would recommend. Again, as I said, it's best to limit the areas and cool them down in a smaller space. The mother would be a lot more easier to handle, and she would be a lot more adept. And she's older, so she can take in the heat stress a lot more better than the puppy. So I would say the mother should be given a little more free space, where the puppy should be secluded. And Soumya, coming back to you, saying, how do we encourage dogs and cats to generally take in more water? So
That, and can you tell us also, like, in amount, like how many liters on an average should a dog or a cat, drink water? Like we know that humans need to drink like 12 liters a day, right? 8 to 12 liters a day. 8
that
liters,
might
sorry. Yeah,
that
so
might be a little too much, but yes, I won't be able to tell you an exact amount. But there is, because dogs and cats come in different shapes and sizes, and activity levels vary between each pet. Even if somebody has a Labrador, 10 people have a Labrador, but some people might be not taking their dogs out. Some people might have extremely active labs that go in and out, have about 2-3 hours of exercise a day. So it all varies a little bit, but I would say for a medium-sized dog from 10 to 25 kilos, I would recommend about 2 to 1.5 to about 2.5 liters of water a day.
okay.
In case of heavy activity during summer. But other than that, about 1.5 should be okay. They don't, because see, you have to really understand the dog's physiology as well, and cat's physiology as well. Dogs, they sleep around two-thirds of their day. Yes,
Okay.
even if it's a super active dog, they're not going to be. They're going to have peak 2-3 hours of performance, and running around, playing around, being active. And after that, they just sleep. They sleep or they rest their body. They don't even have to go into deep sleep, but they're resting. So a good two-thirds of their day, it goes in resting. Whereas Humans, we sleep for an average of 8 hours, so we are up 2/3 of the day. So it's the reverse. So you need to kind of also take that into account. And cats are even more. So the three fourth of the day, 75-80% of the day they're asleep. So that
Right.
way, the water intake may not be that excessive, but regular and stable amount of water intake. It shouldn't fluctuate too high. It shouldn't fluctuate too less, because excessive water intake, we collaborate with hormonal problems like diabetes and hypothyroidism, and also Cushing's, which is cortisol related disturbances in the body. So there are, if your dog or cat is extremely thirsty, extremely urinating a lot, so extremely hungry, these are certain things that may need looking into. So
Right.
extreme thirst is not always uh, related to dehydration, so there could be something else going on, so please keep an eye out.
Okay. All right. Wahid asks, can you shed some light on the severe fungus in cats? Constantly watery eyes, nose, reasons and care or prevention.
Okay. So I'm going to be very quick on this because these are not commonly related summer issues. So I'm just going to be very quick on this, Wahid. So fungal infections in cats are related to the upkeep and the hygiene, and also stress. So there are common cells. Common cells are naturally residing microorganisms on the body. So during times of stress or cross infection, the area, especially we see this with a lot of backyard breeders, unfortunately, where people treat this more like a business rather than anything to do with welfare of pets. So in those areas, we usually have seen only dogs and cats. They don't come in with good hygiene. So those areas. So basically, first thing, some of the cat fungal infections are communicable to humans. So that's
Okay.
something that you need to watch out for. So if you know anybody whose cat has a fungal infection, please let them know that there is the possibility that it could spread to humans as well. But again, even if it does spread, it's called ringworm, which is very, very common. So even if it does spread, it's completely treatable. It takes a little bit of time, but it's completely treatable. It doesn't have any long-standing side effects. But at this point, punch nose, flat nose cats like Persian, they tend to have short nasolacrimal duct. That is,
Mhm.
there's a little duct that passes between the eye and the nose, which is more like a drain for the tears and other eye fluids. So in certain cats, and because of the facial structure, we see this in dogs as well. Because of flat nose, punch face, they tend to have eye discharges in general because of their genetic structure. So I would say a little bit of hygiene and maybe prevent infection, and
Okay.
that would be better. And regular eye wipes and cleaning. And if the cat's immunity is fairly good and the hygiene of the cat is fairly taken care of, we technically should not see fungal infections.
Okay. All right. AK Mittal asks that his 2 years Labrador loves to bathe but is afraid of even a drizzle. Reasons and solutions, please. And in adding to that, I wanted to ask one more query that I'm sure a lot of viewers right now would have. That how will the bathing schedule of our pet change because of the onset of summers? Like, if once or twice a week is what is recommended generally as a bathing schedule for our pets, does it have to change in summers?
Coming to Mr. Mittal's question first. So it most likely, I would say it has nothing to do with your dog being afraid of the water. It's just uh, it's more of the thunder, is especially the rain, the pitter patter, the way the water is presented to him, especially thunder and lightning. So you have to realize that Your dog can hear and see things that you may not be able to. Their hearing frequency there is much wider than ours, and they are able to see certain shades of light and different spectrums of light that we are not able to see as well. So you need to appreciate that part of their cognitive senses and their ability, and realize that okay, there is something that your dog is afraid of, and either you can provide some you can talk to a behaviorist and see if there are ways to work around his fears. If otherwise, sometimes thunder and lightning is also a trigger. I have two dogs, one of them is not afraid, the other one is, so I can't really change it. The other one's gotten better over a period of time, but it has something to do with the the way they react to the sounds, because sometimes the thunder is so loud, but half the time we don't even hear it. We see the lightning, but we don't hear the thunder. But
Right.
dogs can. So because they have a much wider range of
Right.
senses, their hearing is far more sharper than ours. So, and you asked about bathing dogs, right? Yeah. So, to be very, very frank, it all this is only my advice is only applicable to owners whose dogs don't have any skin problems at this point. Okay, if your dog is under treatment for some skin issues, bacterial, fungal, mite, atopic dermatitis, or allergies, for whatever else reason, please do not change your dog or cat's bathing schedule based on my advice. This is only for dogs that have normal, healthy skin. And so, short
Right.
coated dogs, I would recommend like an Indie or a Labrador or a Dalmatian or a Doberman. I would recommend once in 10 days to 15 days.
Right.
Uh, and for a long coated dog, if people like Shih Tzus, Maltese, Cocker Spaniels, one thing is if you are a very, very diligent pet owner, pet parent, and you're brushing them every single day, wiping their paws and face, cleaning their ears on a regular basis, and when you bring them out for walks and they're not dirty and they don't have ticks and fleas, then I would say even a regular wet wipe and a brush is more than enough every third day, fourth day. And I wouldn't recommend giving them a bath as frequently, maybe once in 3 weeks or once a month is also okay. But again, this is all in addition to your dog's health being normal, your dog's skin and hair being normal. These are not recommendations for medicine or treatment. If your dog is under treatment for XYZ disease, please stick to the schedule your vet, he or she may have prescribed to you. Do not change based on my advice. This is only for dogs with normal skin. So long coated dogs, I would say 3 weeks, once in 3 weeks. If you're regularly brushing them, taking care of them, and keeping them clean. And short coated dogs, I would say once in about 10 to 15 days. And also, long coated dogs have and cats have different types of nutritional requirements. So please make sure that you give them enough of salmon oil, fish oil, or healthy oils in their food and good nutrition, because typically a Cocker Spaniel or a Golden Retriever would take in about 20-25% of their nutrition in maintaining their skin and coat. So if you provide them with poor quality nutrition, you're not going to have a nice lustrous coat on your dog.
Okay. Dr. Champak, there are a few questions consecutively about the pet parents complaining constant and rigorous scratching and itching that happens in their pets, both cats and dogs. So, and they say that ticks and fleas and bugs, they are more prevalent and more present during the summers as compared to winters. So, how do we tackle this infestation that we have, that our pets may have? And in continuation to this, Nidhi actually asks a particular question that her 5-year-old male Labrador keeps scratching his head with both his paws, and specifically during the night. The scratching is rigorous, and apparently they have given his flea and ticks dose also to him last week. So and his earwax was also removed. So there is no problem in that front also. Yet he's scratching a lot. So what is your opinion on the itching and scratching and the increase of that during summers, especially in our pets?
Okay. Hello, Nidhi. Thank you for asking that. A lot of times, we have cats and dogs that come with complaints of itching and scratching. And yes, you mentioned that you've used tick and flea medication and cleaned the ears and everything. And this is very, very particular. Um, if your pet is scratching to a point where he or she is losing sleep, and the scratching is that incessant and that rigorous, I would recommend you ask your vet to check for mites. Okay, mites
Okay.
are microscopic organisms. They are right underneath the skin, just underneath the first layer. They constantly keep biting and feeding on dead skin and scales around certain areas, and face, ears, around the chin, the forearms of the dog, around the back. So these are certain areas that are very, very prominently. So usually prominently affected. Usually, doctors, veterinarians, what they do is, if they're suspecting for mites, they take a small little skin sample from the area where your pet is scratching, and they look it up under the microscope to see if there are any mites present. And
Okay.
yes, just because they're not visible to our naked eye doesn't mean there isn't a problem. So yes, thank you for taking care of the ticks and fleas, but I think in this case mites could be an issue. And you can look us up on Instagram, Precise Pet Clinic, and you can reach out to me if you want any help over the phone, email. We can definitely do that. But otherwise, you can talk to your vet and ask them about mite problems in case he or she would consider it, and maybe your boy can find some help, or girl.
Right.
Sorry, yeah.
Right. And her follow-up question is also that, when her pets come back from a walk, their breathing is, they basically are panting and their heart rate takes time. It remains unsettled for hours. So again, something again which is very common in pet that the pet parents observe during summers is that they observe a lot of panting, even like obviously when they come back from a walk then also, but otherwise also we observe a lot of panting that our pets are doing during summers. So how I know it's a bit related to the question that you'd already taken up about how to calm them down, but especially after a walk, as Nidhi asks, what can we do to like calm their rising body temperature, and what is the first thing that can be done?
So first thing would be, let's say if you have a treat, or like if you give them a bone or something, usually what I would recommend is just keep it in a plastic bag or a Tupperware, put it in the freezer, put it in the fridge for a little while. So before you go for a walk, and as soon as they come down, give it to them. Otherwise, I would say keep them. You can make, if your dog likes chicken or bone broth or something like that. What you can do is you can make stock cubes. You can put it in your ice tray and just refrigerate it. And when he comes or she comes back, you can give them that to cool it down. And you can give them
Right.
some cool water, especially if you're okay with, if you have a garden or if you have some space where you don't mind it getting a bit dirty. You can give them some cool water to play around with, splash around a little bit of water in and around where they play, let them cool down that way. And only in cases of heat stroke would I ever recommend people, wrapping their pets up in a blanket, a wet blanket, or a towel. But other than that, there are treats you can use. But best thing would be not to take out your pets during morning, during the midday sun, from maybe about 8 or 9 in the morning till about 4 or 5 in the evening, when the
Right.
sun is at its peak and the day is really hot. I would not recommend. Even if you have to take them out, even if they're trained to go out in the afternoons, please take them out for a quick walk in the shade and come back as soon as they're done with their nature call. I would not. And but by any chance, if you say, since you say that your dogs heart rate remains unsettled even for hours. And if you feel like Nidhi, if you feel like your dog might have lost this stamina or has been showing this behavior recently, and it's been a sudden change, I would suggest getting it looked at, because, and especially if your dog has become extremely sluggish, don't want to go for their walks or anything like that. This is just for everybody. So if your dog's struggling and he or she doesn't want to go back, go out to walk, or but instead of, if they, let's say you were going around a track for 3 4 times, and your dog suddenly gets tired after one round, then it is something to worry about. Please go get your dog's heart and stamina checked in general for any sort of underlying problems, so that we don't miss it. It's always better to be, precautious and careful than treat something that's already difficult, that's already gone. And it's always more difficult to treat than, just avoid and prevent and manage the condition before it gets worse.
Right. Uh, we have a few more questions. So, people who are joining us now, we are discussing, Dr. Champak here and I are discussing about the common summer problems that our pets face, and you can get all your queries regarding that answered. Here, Shivani is asking, my four poms aged 7 and 5 love to play in water, and then they rub themselves all over my bed linen to dry themselves. The actual question is it safe for them to get wet so often? Although I make sure they are dried up nicely. And she also says in her another question that they don't have any fleas or ticks.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one thing I would say, Shivani, is yes, it's absolutely okay for them to get wet. Let them play as much as they want. Uh, and although, since you said you already make sure that they dry themselves up nicely, that's very important. Especially Pomeranians tend to be quite hairy, and I am assuming you actually mean Pomeranians, not the way a lot of us Indians think of Pomeranians, which are mostly Spitz cross breeds. Pomeranians are even tinier. They're about the 4 or 5 kilos max. So a
Okay.
lot of us, who we see, the white dogs, the little cream-colored dogs, those are all Spitz variants. So basically, they're extremely fluffy and hairy, and they. But one thing is, please make sure they're completely dry. And if you have dogs that size, I'm assuming they're quite okay with you grooming them and using a dryer or something like that on a regular basis. So make sure you, and please don't let them get wet during the rains. That could be because the outside temperature also is low and it's cold. And on top of that, if they don't dry up very quickly, they could get into hypothermia, and especially in a small dog like Pom, hypothermia could be very critical very quickly. So as long as they're completely dried up, and especially make sure there's no water that goes into the ears, because most often than not, a lot of people, while giving their dogs a bath or taking them out in the rain, then tend to get water into their ears, and that's how they get ear infections as well. But as long as
Right.
you're drying them up and there is no drop in their body temperature and they don't get a cold shock, yes, let them play. But drying, very important.
Very important. Okay. So everybody who's listening right now, please dry your dogs properly after they are done bathing. Okay. Uday asks, my 1 year old Persian cat is feeling itching below her jaws and around her face. Is it due to the summer season or some special care that I need to take? She constantly looks if someone could relieve her by cuddling or scratching her hand around her face.
Mm. So, Uday, it's completely normal for a cat to come and ask for affection. That's one thing. And yes, they have their whiskers, they have some of their erogenous zones around the face where they feel, extremely um, comforted when you touch those areas and repeatedly stroke against the hair and the whiskers and behind the ear and underneath the neck. So that could be one of the issues. Although cats also have something called feline chin acne. So there are little bumps. It's a minor infection that tends to develop uh, in and around the lower jaw, and that makes them a bit itchy. Also, if your cat is in contact with other cats, or if you have multiple cats in and around, or a lot of us who have cats live in apartments. So if there are stray cats coming in and out near the balcony, near the common areas, so they could be bringing in fleas as well. Fleas could be, even one or two fleas could irritate your cat quite frequently. And also, cats also get mite infections. So look up for any sort of changes, any spots, redness, loss of hair, dryness. If you notice those things, please consult your vet, and he or she might be able to help you out.
Okay. All right. There is a question about can a dog be given fruit juice? If yes, then which fruits?
Okay. Yes, you can give dogs fruit juice, but again, all fruit juices are not really recommended, especially grapes, even the green grapes, purple, black grapes. They're not really recommended. Grape juice is one of the most commonly consumed for humans, but because grapes have certain toxins which affect their liver and kidneys, especially kidneys, and in cats they could cause blindness as well. Okay,
Okay.
so please, and when you give fruits, when you talk about fruits, bananas, bananas are okay. Certain amounts of apples are okay, but
What about
again,
mangoes? Because mango is like the seasonal fruit for summers. So,
yes, but please make sure you cut up the mangoes. Don't give raw mangoes as much.
okay.
Small amounts of pulp, mango peels, and the pulp is fine, but the mango seed is one of the most common cause of problems. A lot of people who just give a dog a whole mango, and the dog ends up swallowing the seed. And believe me, I think me and my other veterinary colleagues would agree. I think at any point in their life, any surgeon would have removed at least 3 to 5 or 10 mango seeds from a dog with surgery. It becomes quite a bit of. So you can give them mangoes in limited quantities, and but take away the seed first. Please don't let them play with the seed. There's a lot of times, dogs don't know what's best for them. They think it's all fun and games until it becomes a problem. And
Right.
bananas is one of the common things, but dogs do not require so much bananas because their potassium requirement compared to humans is much lower. So half
Okay.
a banana every alternate day for a medium-sized dog should be more than enough.
Okay. Great. So, talking about diet, especially right now, do you think that there is some sort of change that we should inculcate in our pets' diet, specifically because it's summers now? And is there any change in, the schedule of our pet, like, when we feed our pets? And has it got any relation to the outside temperature or the inside body temperature or anything like how to will diet or a change in diet anyway regulate their body temperature from within?
Yes. So that's something that we should definitely look at, because water intake is very, very important. I think that's the most primary thing that people need to concentrate on. Don't
Okay.
think about elaborate diet changes, or don't buy the most expensive food. It's not going to help you if the moisture is not taken care of. So your dog or cat needs to be hydrated. And for
Right.
cats, it's easier for you to switch. If your cats usually like wet food, as I said in the beginning of the talk, make sure that your cat's getting 2/3 of wet food as opposed to dry food during these months. So that's how they take in a lot of water, because cats are usually very finicky about water. They don't really drink from bowls. Yes, some cats do, but a lot of cats don't drink from bowls. They prefer leaky taps. They prefer small puddles of fresh water. They prefer the faucets that are like flowing fountains. Those are the kind
Right.
of Those are the kind of things that the cats prefer, and include wet food, and that would be a lot more better for them. And
Right.
for dogs, as I said, chicken broth, bone broth, or you can, let's say, if you're giving home food, so you can make it into more of a soup consistency. And because the essence of the flavor, the smell, everything would be there. And so you just water down the food as much as possible. And plus, you can give cooler liquids. As I said, you can ice cubes. You can add ice cubes into the water bowl. Chicken stock, bone broth. You can just keep it in refrigerated. Give them as a treat. There are doggy ice creams that are available, and whatever they like, water it down because of the smell of the food in general. They will eat it, but along with that, they will consume all this excess amounts of water that you're giving. So that's what I would recommend. Just flavor the water, make some fun and games, make it a little more innovative. They like a little bit of change. They will be curious. They will be interested, and especially cats. If wet food, I'm sure a lot of cats would like, being given more wet food. So that's
Right.
something I would advise for cat owners.
Right, great. Okay, so how in the start of the session you were also advising the pet parents to only strictly take our pets out during early morning or in the evening during summers, and that is basically because the pavements and the sidewalks where we take them out for walks is usually burning. It starts burning as the sun rises, and especially during the afternoons. Now, this is not just on the roadside, like even people, even the space right outside our in like the outdoors of our home, even those areas, they are burning, and sometimes may even cause paw burns and everything. So can you tell us like a specific time when we can take our pets out for walks, whether it's early in the morning, and like what time period is when we should like complete not take them out at all, and in case they still face some amount of paw burn, what can we use to apply to their paws, or is there any precautionary something that we can apply on their paws before we step out with our pets at all?
I wouldn't recommend putting something before, because again, it'll get completely dirty by the time you bring them back. So I wouldn't recommend them. I would say, um, I think on the chat we have one of my friends, Priya Bakaya. She
Hmm.
is uh, she's associated with a company called Captain Zack. They
Right.
make uh, they make something called paw butters for dogs. It's a little
Right.
moisturizing
Right.
cream, so you can
Right.
use paw butters. But please make sure that you bring your pet back, wipe his or her feet properly, get rid of all the dirt, and then apply a thin layer of paw butter on it. The
Okay.
instructions are in the bottle, but also what I would recommend, however, is keep your dogs, paws groomed properly, especially retrievers and spaniels. Keep the paws groomed properly. And getting back to the timings of the walk, I would say if you're a really early riser, maybe anywhere between 5:36 to about 8 would be ideal. But
Ideal.
because 8:30, because beyond that, that's when the heat catches on. At
Yes,
least that's the trend of the weather in Bangalore. So I would recommend somewhere between 6 to 8 would be an
okay.
ideal speed spot. And then in the evening, post 4:35, that's when the heat
Okay.
lets off. So when it's just an hour before the sunset, or if you're okay to walk around later in the night, also it's fine. But I wouldn't recommend walking between 8:30, 9 o'clock till about 5 o'clock in the evening.
In the
That's when,
evening.
and even if you have to go, take them out for a quick walk, and immediately take them out during the shade, and then immediately bring them back after they're done with their pee or potty.
Right. And, in the start of the session, you mentioned that how we should not go for zero cuts in our dogs and even cats for that matter. So, in terms of, strictly regarding grooming, because there are breeds which are naturally more furry than other breeds. So, in general, also, what do you suggest about grooming in our pets in during summers? How often should they be trimmed? And what is the natural, like what is the ideal cut? Like if zero cut is not ideal, then what is the amount of trimming that should be done? And in cats, do they, because generally cats are not advised for trimming, but because it's heat, can you advise trimming to cats as well, or how do you advise grooming in general for pets?
So grooming also, there are a few things that we need to take into consideration. Grooming is, of course, very, very necessary, but the requirement of grooming, it goes on a spectrum. Basically, if you have a small indie dog or a
Mm-hmm.
beagle, you don't require so much grooming because they're
Right.
short with small dogs. But when it comes to a retriever, a spaniel, or a Maltese, or a Shih Tzu, or a Pom, or XYZ breeds, which have a lot of coat. So most of their problems are taken care of, especially Shih Tzus and Maltese with their flat noses. So as long as you take care of them, they're grooming very well, most of their problems go away. Like a lot of times, Shih Tzus develop eye conditions because there's so much hair around the eye, and there's
Right.
constant gunk that keeps coming because of their punch face. So eye infections are very common, and in and around the face when they're moving, when they're eating. So you need to kind of clean up and trim around the face and the chin area. So that's something that we need to watch out for and clean their faces and make sure. And the paws are something that we need to take care of because whenever they walk, just make sure you trim and clean the paws, and especially the genital area, where male dogs, female dogs as well. Just make sure there's a little bit of trim done there and around. Because another thing is very, very important for small dog owners is, and cat owners, especially Persian cats, Himalayan cats, and other furry breeds. These are small pets; they're portable. So basically, you're going to be carrying them around a lot. You're not going to have a 70-kilo Great Dane jump onto your couch or in your car or in your bed. But a 3-kilo cat, a 5-kilo dog, you're going to carry it around. Your kids are going to play with it, and it's going to be in all your personal spaces. He or she is going to be on your pillow, on your couch. He will go under the bed, on top of the bed. He will sleep with you. She will sleep with you. So at the end of the day, these are pets that will invade all our personal spaces, and we are in a lot more physical contact with them. So you need to realize that their grooming and their hygiene is as important because we are letting them in, and that in fact compromises our hygiene level in our personal spaces. So especially cat owners, dog owners with a lot of furry breeds, make sure you trim the hair around the anus and around the genitals, because in case your dog or cat has diarrhea, believe me, you don't want to be snuggling with that pet, because irrespective, there will be particles of feces in and around the couch, wherever they sit. So it will be better for cleaning. So always make sure you groom them around sensitive areas. And cocker spaniels in general, they get a lot of ear infections,
Yes.
especially when they eat. Their ears also droop into the food bowl, and there's a lot of crusting around the ears that tend to happen. And so I would really recommend for people to pick up something called a cocker spaniel bowl, which is like a more narrow cylindrical bowl, which lets only
Right.
their snout go in and the ears fall to the side, and you can maintain so that way. And coming to haircuts, we would recommend, there is a guideline, most groomers know it, and I can't really tell you on a broad spectrum what it is for each individual pet, but
Right.
there is something called an undercoat. It's another layer of fur right underneath the coat that is visible to us. And hair is very, very important. And this structure is very important in maintaining their body temperature. It's part of something
Right.
called the thermoregulatory center. So
Okay.
at this point, the thermoregulatory mechanism. So at this point, if you completely give them a haircut, that negates that and puts them, they could go into a heat stroke, they could go into a high cold shock. So these are certain things, extreme things that could happen. So please make sure that you don't do it just for convenience. And if yes, there are certain times where doctors also advise if the flea and tick problem is getting extremely difficult to deal with, and you're not able to clean your pet as efficiently, or he or she might have a skin problem, and we recommend you to shave off your dog. But make sure that you can manage. See, that's just barely a inch or half an inch of a hair that needs to be left out, and that is completely again manageable as long as you. Please don't do a zero cut because it's convenient for you or it's convenient for the groomer. Think about your pets. That's one thing I stress in my practice, that I'm sorry, you can come in with your problem, with your pet's problem, but I am not going to make it easier for you at the cost of my patient. My patient is your
Right.
dog or cat. So I will advise you what's right for him or her, even if it's mildly inconvenient for you. So please understand that just because you have to deal with less hair doesn't mean your cat or dog is automatically benefited by your decision. So please educate yourself. This is a being. It's not it's not like, oh, you have extra money, you just picked up a phone. No, this is an extra being. You've brought a family member into your house. These are beings that will give you love, feel pain, show concern. And so at this point you're dealing with a sentient creature. So please learn and educate about your pet, educate yourself about your pet, be a little more responsible. Please don't treat them just like a property.
That's a really brilliant point made by you, Dr. Champak. I hope everybody here was listening. That even if it's mildly inconvenient for you, if it's something that benefits your cats or dogs, that is the kind of consultation that you should go for, and not something that is convenient for us as humans. I really like that. Okay, so as we near the end of the session, we can just take one more question from the audience. Nidhi says that at certain times my pet starts to drip water from one side of his mouth. The water drips like an unclosed tap, drop by drop. It's not anything like the thick saliva, but clear drops of water. And she's asking whether it is due to some health issue, some serious condition, or is it due to merely it being summers?
So, Nidhi, thank you for asking this question. But at this point, I don't think there is any sort of health issue here. But also, I don't think it could be summer, because of summer as well. Because in case of in summer, yes, they do drool a bit, but it's more of thick, mucousy kind of saliva. It's not water droplets. Water droplets usually happen when there is excess amounts of water in the body, not the opposite. Where the body is in a slightly hot, dehydrated state. That's when the body does not want to lose further water. So you're not going to see dripping. So it might not be due to summer per se. Um, Sometimes, due to certain conditions, a dog's face partially gets droopy, certain neurological conditions or muscle palsy. So if you've noticed your dog's cheek or eyelid getting droopy or something like that, then I would recommend just check with your local vet and figure that out. But I think it's more of a behavioral trick, or just the way the lips are spread out. It has nothing to do with any health condition unless you notice any sort of drooping. And just make sure that you notice the water dripping. Is it just one side, or is it happening on both sides? What Just maybe observe it a little bit so that you can update your vet, a little more thoroughly on it. But I don't think it's a health issue at this point.
Okay, hope Nidhi, your query was answered. Thank you so much, Dr. Champak. With this, we are, our time is up and we have come to the end of the session. I would, along with all the people here who have commented, how this session was really informative and helpful for everybody. A lot of people have said that in the comments, and we feel the same. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for giving us such amazing, helpful insights. And I'm sure it'll really help all of us, all the pet parents out there, for taking better care and taking more responsible care up for our pets, even if it's mildly inconvenient for us. At the end of the day, they are our responsibility. So thank you so much, Dr. Champak, for joining us. For the audience and the viewers, thank you for joining us for yet another session. We'll be back for with more such sessions soon, and we'll be covering different topics every day. So in case, stay tuned on our channels. If you want to revisit this entire video, you can go to our video section on our Facebook and YouTube channels, and you can watch this video again. And hope we were able to answer all your queries. And with this, we'll take your leave. Thank you, Dr. Champak.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye. Have a
Yeah,
nice
you
weekend.
too.